Welcome to the Know Your Ship podcast, presented by eHub. I'm your host, Frank Dolce. Now, I don't know. I'm trying to get settled in here. I don't know if I'm up to the task today.
We'll get going and be like, damn, who is this guy?
I think I know who this guy. I think I know who this guy is. It's like, I'm not kidding, and I'm not doing you justice when I say this, and I'm not trying to be way over the top. This for me is like having Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods.
Thank you
or
very
Wayne
much.
Gretzky or Eddie Merckx, who is a world's greatest cyclist. I mean, you name Joe Montana, you name any of the greatest of all time athletes, and he's sitting here on our podcast. Kaycee Feild, 6-time world bareback champion, best of all time, widely regarded as maybe the best rodeoer of all time. That's unbelievable. I can't thank you enough for being here.
Well, I sure appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
So let me just ask you this question. If you're the best of all time, who is your favorite cowboy of all time?
For sure, my dad, number one. Just watching him grow up and then watching him through his career. What I can remember, I was very small, but just the way he carried his life after his career and the champion that he was in everyday aspect. Ty Murray, he's a tough guy. Bobby Moe is a guy that I competed against that I looked up to tremendously. He kind of was the guy that, in my opinion, in the bareback riding event, kind of revolutionized preparation, getting ready for the ride, more so than just push-ups and sit-ups. It seemed like he had a purpose that he was training for. He wasn't just a good old tough cowboy. Like, he actually brought some class and style to the bareback ride and into the sport of rodeo, and competing against him and understanding his resiliency was something awesome to witness.
Yeah.
He was a 4-time world champion, rode bucking horses bareback riding, which is a young man's event for sure. It's pretty violent on the body. You feel your aches and pains, and
Right.
he rodeoed till he's 42 years old, and so I got to see him for a long time compete, and it was awesome.
Wow. 42. What is your actual age is what, 37?
Actually, yeah.
Actual age. What is your rodeo age? Like, what is your age in rodeo years?
Probably
like a dog
91
years.
years. Yeah.
Probably. I mean, it's just so hard on the body.
Yeah.
And you go through so many traumatic events. And I'm sure you've seen that. We're going to talk about some of your traumatic events as we go through this and overcoming obstacles, because I think that's a very important part of your story. But let's go back to the beginning. And your dad, Louis, people call him Louis.
Yep.
5-time champion, right?
Yep.
And your mom, Veronica,
Yep.
was tell me about your mom. I think we know about your dad. Your dad was very well known on the rodeo circuit.
Yes.
But it kind of feels like your mom is the understated glue of this family unit. Tell me a little about your mom.
Yeah, my mom's amazing. She was, as growing up, she was our friend. She wasn't a mom. We got in trouble with her. I remember the LDS missionaries coming over to give her the discussion, and my dad had won this Ram Charger SUV thing, and she wanted to take him for a ride, and we lived in the mountains, and we went up in the mountains. We're mud bogging, and we got stuck, and they missed the discussions the rest of the day that they were supposed to go and give. And she came back and called the bishop, and, hey, these guys don't need to be in trouble. It's my fault. And as kids, seeing my mom kind of have fun with us and with the missionaries like that was just the beginning of so many memories just like that. And she's very outgoing, very optimistic about life. Very rarely does she have a bad day. She's just she's very beautiful, and she's just as beautiful on the inside. She does a lot of service for a lot of people, and she's just my kids 11 to 5 to have a grandma is a true blessing to have a grandma like her, and the things and the influence that she has on them is just something awesome. We as kids, we didn't realize how good we had it with our mom and dad, and looking back now at our memories.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me, what are some of your mom's qualities that you have, or what are some of her qualities that you wish you had?
She's a better storyteller than me for sure. I'm very straight to the point. She likes to give every detail, maybe even some extras.
Yeah,
but she's amazing. She's beautiful, like I said. But the way that she cares for other, and she's always motivating. She's always uplifting people and giving compliments, and just what you would your dream grandma. That's my mom. You dream of someone that just your kids die to go and hang out with in any scenario. They are learning things from her about life, common sense, how to speak to people, things that are going to last throughout their whole life. And she does it in a very fun way. And she's always taking my kids on adventures wherever it be, or her new husband, my new stepdad, Brennan, she runs him through the ringer. They're on an adventure every week, and I know he likes his Sundays on the couch and watches football. And he doesn't get that very often with Veronica. She's running the wheels off him.
That's great. That's fantastic. Obviously, your dad, well-known rodeo champion, but that wasn't it was a way of life, but he couldn't really make a life. Like the purses weren't necessarily enough to make a life. So he did lots of different things while you were growing up.
Yeah.
What are some of the lessons you learned from your dad in that way of life?
My dad was very successful at a young age and won a lot of championships. But when rodeo was over, he continued working. He produced rodeos for a long time. And so we would go and we would watch him produce rodeos, and he would give us jobs to do while we were there. And it didn't seem like we were working. He made it way fun for us. And then growing up at the house, riding young horses, whatever we did, building fence, or if we went on a hunting trip, it was always just a delight. He was very pleasant to be around. He was a prankster. He's always pulling pranks on us, maybe trying to get us bucked off a young horse. He thought it was really funny when somebody got bucked off and it wasn't him. He was a very resilient man. He very humble, probably the most humble champion I've ever met in my life. We never talked about his accomplishments. We never talked about rodeo. If we were at a rodeo and his name came up, he would elaborate a little bit, back in 83 or 84, I was the first $1 million cowboy on the rough stock end of the rodeo. And that was all that was said. It wasn't, he would never go into detail that it was this season and I rode this bucking horse and this many points and I did that. He was more engaged in who we are and developing us as champions when we were very young. Yeah. Like mowing the lawn, you mow the lawn straight and you don't miss any patches. And if you do, you go back and you finish the job and you clean up after yourself and you do it with a winning attitude. And that's a simple analogy of what we went through when we were growing up.
Well, I'd like to talk about that development of this winning attitude, because your mom said you were just born with it. This mindset, this attitude. She uses the word tenacity, focus. If you want to accomplish something, you figure out how to accomplish that. As you look back, can you see your childhood as this development of the mindset in your career?
Yeah, I can. I didn't understand it, but when I was as young as Little League wrestling is 7, 8 years old, 50 pounds, 45 pounds, whatever it be. If we lost, it was like, hey, you didn't lose. You did really good. What you did out there and the things that you were doing and how you came off the mat and you were a good sportsman. That was so impressive. You did such a good job. I'm so proud of you. Little League football, racing downhill mountain bikes, snowmobiles. We had the opportunity. If we dreamed it, they provided the opportunity, but we had to do it in a certain way. And they never said, if you don't do it this way, we're not going to support you. I never once did I ever hear that out of my parents' mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, if you're going to do this, I'll help you. I know a few things on, how to win, and the things that you learn outside of the discipline that you're up against is going to help you even be a better competitor.
Right.
And so that's when we were going to the rodeos or we were going to our competitions, sitting in the truck with my mom and dad are some of my most vivid memories of just preparing and then what we reflected on the way home.
So you have a brother and a sister. Are you the oldest?
I'm the baby.
You're the little one.
Oh yeah.
And so how does it go chronologically?
So Shadrach, my oldest brother, he's 4 years older than me.
Okay.
He's 40, he's old and bald.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Old and bald.
No offense.
Listen, if you go bald, I mean, life's pretty much over. You might check out.
Yeah, he's battling it.
Well, I shave. This is by choice.
Yeah. And then my little big sister, she's beautiful and she's probably 5'3". She's 2 years older than me, but I call her my little sister.
Yeah.
She lives right down the road from me, has 4 kids, and our kids are riding 4-wheelers and pedal bikes back and forth with each other 24/7. But my brother, my sister, we're very close. I talk to them several times every day, have some business with Shad. And then Mackley, our kids being close together, we get to spend a lot of time together.
Yeah. Do your brother and sister share some of these qualities that you have? Like the mindset, your mom described you as a dreamer, like you could manifest something by dreaming about it and thinking about it and wanting it. Do you see that in your siblings as well?
Oh, for sure. Shad's very successful businessman. He's very intelligent. I say he got the brains, my sister got the beauty, and I got the talent. But I'm very proud of both of them. Shad is an entrepreneur. He's got stuff in the oil field. He's got a jewelry company. Me and him have a cowboy hat company.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. By the way, I need something to cover up this, so maybe afterwards.
We got something that'll fit perfect. So we have a lot of fun with each other, even as adults. My sister, the most amazing mom. She's an angel. Haven't heard her say a curse word or a bad thing about anybody. Just a delight to be around. Very fortunate that she lives right down the road, and my wife from Montana gets to have a close relationship with her, and so it's cool. But they're both winners. Shad, he's more of a really thorough, I want it now kind of guy that needs to be done yesterday. My sister, she's just happy go lucky, whatever comes her way. Heck yeah, I'll do my best. But as far as dreaming of something and then really going after it, I think the way that I write my goals down and then I try to simulate life with rodeo with riding bucking horses. I was pretty good at riding bucking horses, and so
yes, pretty good.
The more that I live my life like riding a bucking horses, like when I wake up in the morning and I put my foot down, it's just like when I'm nodding in the bucking chute. It's here and now. You have a short period of time to show your talent. So get out there and do your very best work as hard as you can because you have a limited amount of time. And so I add a lot of pressure on myself, just like at a big rodeo. If I had to have a lot of points or if there was a big purse on the line that could help me in the world standings, move up or extend my lead, I'm going after it as hard as I possibly can. And it's now or never.
You just mentioned that the way that you live your life. And I read a little bit of Stoic philosophy, and I'm going to mess this up, but maybe we can edit it out if I messed up. But the Stoics believe in something called memento mori, and it's living every day to the fullest capacity because you don't know what's going to happen the next day. And it feels like that's what you've incorporated in your life or recognized in your life and live your life that way.
That's probably better. I've recognized that, and it's helped me where I'm at today with being retired from rodeo and going into business. The more that I'm diligent about the basics,
Mm-hmm.
it seems like my days flow better and I can get more accomplished.
Okay, so you've discovered it and you've recognized it. Can you teach it? Can you
Uh,
teach others? Can you teach your family? Can you teach others how to live that type of philosophy?
if I spend enough time with them. So there for a while, I'll guess we got plenty of time. I'll give you the long answer. So, when I was young and I won my first 4 world titles, it was fast paced. There was no distractions. It was me. No one else was getting on the bucking horse for me. Um, I was tunnel vision, and it seemed like um, there wasn't anything there for me. It was, I'm being a champion. I have my wife and my kids, and this is life. And then I go through life, just like everybody else. You have tribulations and distractions, and losing my father, injuries, financial problems. There's certain things that are inevitable to happen when you're chancing things in life, when you're trying to push yourself and putting things on the line. There is things that you're going to learn. And I was a young man, and then coming back and winning my 5th and my 6th world title, it was like I had a second chance in society. I remember like the camera guy who used to film me when I was sitting on my mom's lap watching my dad compete. The same camera guy's now videoing me compete, and he's like, "Come on, Kaycee, show them what they come to see." And a lot of guys don't even recognize the cameraman, let alone if he's been there for 30 years. And to recognize him and like
Mm,
give him a hug and understand that there's a lot of people that support me. It's a very humbling feeling to feel love from a stranger. It's very, um, you know, it's humbling, but it's a feeling that it's very powerful and it's hard to get with anything else.
hmm.
And so going through life and through those 10 years, I kind of learned that, God has a plan for me. I can't dictate what's going to happen in a year. I can happen or dictate what's going to happen today, but there's much more than just today. And God kind of, you know, hit me on the head, I guess you could say, and like knock some cobwebs out and, um, going to not that I didn't before, but really going to the children's hospitals and
Mm,
being interested in what the parents are dealing with. They're going overseas to see the troops in Afghanistan and
hmm.
understanding that I am bringing them peace. I am bringing them a taste of home. My words are encouragement.
Hmm.
I never understood that until I won these last few world titles. And so, um, to answer the question, that was kind of the long answer,
That's
but,
great.
you know, I don't know the proper answer, but
You look back on your life and you comprehend the rush of a certain point and the value of being in the moment and recognizing all the people that are surrounding you and being of service to all
yeah,
of those people. You're not
exactly.
in this alone.
Yeah. So to say I can teach it, yeah, I can teach it if I have someone around me long enough to watch what I do.
Hmm.
So Mason Clement's a little brother to me. He's been coming over and practicing and working out with me for several years. He's made the NFR a few times, but now, and I hate to say this, but now being retired from the sport, I feel like I'm even more helpful to a young man like him. And now he's been over and he's probably having the best year he's ever had. But he's never spent this much time with me when I'm preparing and the way that I prepare for rodeo and the way that I prepared for the national finals rodeo. I can speak it all day, but to see it and witness it in a different aspect with
Hmm.
me in my realm, I guess you could say, and see my mindset. Um, it is I guess Mason is an example of teaching it and becoming a better winner.
There's there's so many nuggets of wisdom in what you've just said. I'd like to talk about a few of those, and specifically one story that your mom told after your father passed. And if I'm getting this mixed up, please correct me. But
I-
it sounded like you're a tough cowboy. And if you look at across the world of athletics, cowboys are considered maybe the top of the toughest. I mean, I think I would put like cowboys, National Hockey League players and wrestlers probably in my top 3 of the toughest athletes around. Your dad passed, and it sounded like you weren't giving yourself the space to grieve about that. And your mom recognized this, not surprising based on what we've been told about your mom, and gave you that opportunity to grieve. She said something to you. And was that an experience that helped lead you to this point where you are today in terms of being more in the moment?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Grieving was hard for me just because he passed. I went back to the basics. I was at my goals. I wasn't lost, but things were definitely different, more different than they've ever been in my life. And so I was like, dang, all right, back to the basics. Here's the goals. There's no distractions to me, bull crap. This is the job.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I lost my dad, what, do these goals go away? Do they erase and I start over next year, lose a whole year? And it's like, no, that ain't me. And so, I had to figure a way out to grieve on my own. And it was, my dad passed away in February of 16, and it was probably December of 17 or even the winter of 18 that was like, okay, dude, like he's gone. You need to let go of some stuff or whatever's going on. I wrote down some things that, I loved having my dad here with, and then I wrote some things down that have benefited me now that my dad is gone. And the list just kept going and going and going and going and going and going and going. And I was like, okay, well, life's just going to be just all right. Like, here we go again,
Yeah.
And so that was a moment for me and my mom too. Just words of encouragement, and she seen, I don't know, I don't feel like I stress unless I'm waiting in line at Disneyland or something like that, or have anxiety.
Which is very stressful.
Yes. But my mom, she read something and was like, hey, you've got to do this for yourself and your family.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is kind of taking notice. Like, you got to grow up a little bit and quit being so selfish. There's other people in this world with you at this moment. Quit pushing it aside, grow up, kind of deal.
Tough love from mom.
Tough love from mom.
Man,
Yeah,
she keeps getting better every time you tell the story about her.
Yeah, when you talk to her, you're gonna love her. She's infectious. I'll tell you that.
I can't wait. I just can't wait. Talking about another thing that you mentioned, the mindset, being able to manifest. It feels like that's something you've had from an early age, and maybe you've just developed it over time or recognized it over time. And there's a great story I'd love you to tell about you're coming back from an injury, you had a broken arm. You didn't qualify for the NFR the previous year. You have 3 kids. You don't have a lot of money in the bank, and you have an opportunity to maybe turn that around with this ride. Take me from the point where you had the dream to the conclusion of that.
Yeah, so it was a tight spot for me. It was a part of my career where I credit a lot of my success nowadays coming from the mistakes that I made, the valley down at the bottom that I was in was a dark place. I wasn't happy. But it was all unnecessary negative energy that I was putting on myself. It was stupid, selfish, like I said. But there's this horse named Virgil, and he's this big, huge monster. I mean, he's got to weigh 2,200 pounds, and big old head.
That's a horse, not a cow, right? That's not a bull.
He is serious. A big, powerful horse. He's, bucking people off, but if you ride him, you're 90 points. And I haven't drawn him. He'd probably been to the NFR 3 or 4 times. He'd been in the Calgary Stampede, and I've never drawn him. And it seems like if I didn't draw him, the right guy got on and beat me, and I won second several times.
So just for context, if people aren't familiar with rodeo, tell me what it means to score 90 on a ride.
It's awesome. That's a big score. So 50 points available for the horse and 50 points available for the cowboy. The horse has to go out there and perform for you to be able to win. And I have to show up and put a good ride with style and control and a little finesse in that ride and make it look controlled, but at the same time, maybe a little bit out of control. Controlled chaos, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So when you reach a 90, that's the mark. Like if
100 points is a perfect ride.
Yeah.
The horse comes out. There's never been a 100-point ride in the bareback ride. And there's been 2 95s and 3 94s. Yeah. And I've never got that record. I feel like, humbly saying I have majority of the records at the big rodeos or season earnings or whatever it be. But the ultimate highest scorer ever, I never did get that. There's a few times I was like, man, this is going to be it. They say the score and I'm like 93 and going to win $500,000. And I'm still thinking, oh man, I was that close.
You were that close.
Yeah. But no, bareback riding, it's weird because it is controlled chaos.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Okay. So now you're at the spot. You've never drawn the horse. And here we go.
Yeah. So coming up, I didn't qualify for the NFR in December. And if you don't make the NFR in rodeo, there goes all of your profit. You just broke even for the year, maybe can pay off your credit card bills. So didn't make the NFR, money's tight. Going into the rodeos in March, and you go through a qualifier in the old stockyards down in Fort Worth. And it's probably my least favorite place to ride. It's dungy. It stinks. The energy in the building's just different. And really? I'm like, yeah, but the ultimate, if you qualify through that road, you go to the Dallas Cowboys Stadium to the rodeo called the American. And if you go through the qualifying system, you're eligible to win $1 million rather than just 100,000. End up going to making it to the semifinals. I had a horse called All Pink come around, and I rode that horse probably 4 times prior to that day in years past, and rode her better than I ever had. And I've been 88, 89 points on that horse, and I was 92. And I was like, hey, this is all that I've seen this. Here we go. Walk in the locker room. They're like, you got Virgil. I'm like, I know. You guys are so in trouble. Like, good luck.
So you said you've seen this, but is there something behind that?
I just feel like to be able to be at the very best, you have to dream, sleep, and eat bareback riding or whatever your discipline is. And I forgot that for a few years. I would lay my head down. My dad's gone, or there's so much weight on my own shoulders, stupid stuff. And I wasn't laying my head down and dreaming of being the absolute best. I wasn't dreaming about the worst bucking horses that nobody else can ride. I wasn't having those dreams like in years past when I had won my world titles. And so I remember like the gray horse, I don't know why it's a gray horse, white buffalo, whatever it be, the philosophies or whatever that is behind that. But I remember Virgil, and in my dreams, clear as day, and waking up just sweating like, okay, like here we go. This is my moment. And here I've dreamed of being in the chute with him, and he's so big he kind of looks sideways, and he'll put his head over the rail over the bucking gate if he's having a grumpy day. And if he has a grumpy day, he does this trip, what we call a buck out, like for the 8 seconds. He does this pattern. But if he has his head down and his ears are twitching in the chute, he's going to have his hopper day. And it's not a hopper day, but he comes around and he's a little more friendly to ride, and you can kind of show off a little more. It's not near a fist fight, you know. It's more of a dance. And I drew him that day, and I was wound up, and them horses feel the energy for sure, especially from the rider. And I remember climbing over on him, and it's not climbing over and getting down in on him. It's climbing up and getting on him. And like just massive. And when you put your legs around him, they just feel like you're spread eagle. Like you climb up on him. And I remember I couldn't get out of the chute fast enough. There wasn't like, okay, this feels good. Okay. okay, remember, keep your shoulders back, strong mark out. None of that. It was like, oh, Tom, you ready? Like, Tom, get the gate open. I'm ready. All right. And I'm nodding and like, went out, did really well. And he had his mean trip. And I hadn't been riding to the top of my ability at that time. And that was like, I won a $500,000 that day. Rode the hardest horse to ride, perfect. The things that I felt spiritually that day leading up, the presence of my dad, it felt like on the back of the chutes, my family there, my little boy, like everything was such a perfect day in a champion's world, I guess you could say. You've dreamed it, you've done it, you accomplished it, your family, everything, and it was like, okay, here's the lights again. I'm going home. I'm going to train like I've never trained. Got some money in the account, let's go get a steak, babe. So it was a fun period of life. And Virgil, I won the American on him a few years ago. So it would be, 4 years from the first time I won the American and won 100,000. I didn't qualify for the million that year, but just a very unique athlete of an animal.
Yeah. It feels like you got realigned. Like you went through a tough patch and you got realigned. Did you just recognize that? Were there some circumstances in your life that you thought, wait, when I'm putting my head down on the pillow at night, this is how I need to be. This is what I need to be thinking about. Exactly.
It was more, you're not done in the sport yet. You've got a lot of gas left in the tank. There's things that it was like God sent, like, hey, there's way more work for you here in the rodeo arena than anything else. I started a company called Power Pro at the time, and I was dreaming about that a lot and not riding. And so it was like, dude, business is always going to be there. Bareback riding you've got a limited time. You need to make your mark. This is your second opportunity pretty much.
Yeah.
And it really was. And winning the money and financially stressed, that was a weird transition for me, just because at a very young age, from 13 years of age, I started getting it figured out. And when I turned 16, I went to high school rodeos. My dad wouldn't let me do that before, and finally grew up to be a man. And I started making some pretty decent money at a very young age, and never going to have a poor day, and then family and buying a new property and unexpected fees and whatever, everybody deals with it.
Life happened.
Yeah. So it was just a stupid distraction I let dictate who I really was and dictate my winnings.
Such a great lesson. It's such a great lesson. And the way you overcame it. I think that's a great part of your story, is the way that you overcome challenges in your life. If you look in my office, there's a poster of Marcus Aurelius, was the last of the 5 great Roman emperors. And he had a saying that I think applies to you in terms of obstacles. He said, the impediment to the action activates the action. The obstacle to the way becomes the way. And it feels like obstacles in your life, nobody wants to face it, but the obstacles have been critical in your life and your success. Is that accurate? Do you feel that way?
No. I mean, there is obstacles, but I don't feel like anything's ever been in my way. I feel like there's opportunities that are challenging.
Yeah.
And it could be an obstacle. But no, I don't think but whatever I am up against, I do find joy in figuring out the process to become good at that.
Mm-hmm.
Or overcome that, whatever it be, or be more influential in moments.
Mm-hmm.
And there's times where I definitely don't want to get up in front of a crowd and speak, but there's been some conversations I've had in the past that I didn't want to have, that, hey man, I suck at public speaking. Like, I get tongue-tied, I get nervous. I'd be more comfortable going and getting on Virgil with no rigging. I'll just hang on to his mane, but the things that I've read and the podcasts that I listen to and the things that I've witnessed in life, public speaking's not that bad. Everybody gets a little nervous.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I think generally it's well known that public speaking ranks at the top or near the top of individuals' fears in life.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's true. So you're not out of you're right in the realm with everybody else. Public speaking is uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I enjoy it, and especially when it's done, it's gratifying. It's like, hopefully there was one person that listens to that I changed their life, and they feel like they're more capable of going at their obstacles, whatever they're up against. Hopefully, there's, and I having faith in yourself is something else too that my mom and dad instilled us when we were young, and so having faith in your wisdom and the things that I've lived in life, my experiences, hopefully, I can tell them, and people can resonate with them a little bit, but learn a little bit more about themselves and hopefully influence them.
Well, you have such vast experience, and I know that you said that you don't feel like there's obstacles, or you don't view them as obstacles, but you keep overcoming challenges. And I think a lot of us would view that as you overcoming these obstacles. In fact, in one interview, I think you said, if there's a challenging time in your life, you can look back on all of the things that you accomplished. You got on Virgil, you rode Virgil. Like, these are things that the normal person doesn't do, and you've already overcome those. You can lean on those things to help manage challenges as they come through your life. What would you say? I'm never going to sit on Virgil, and I'm going to have challenges. What are the things that we can lean on to help manage those difficult times in our lives?
Oh, man. There's so many things, but I rely on my friendships and my family a lot. The saying, "Steel sharpens steel." I use that all the time. My brother, hanging out with him, he sharpens me. He keeps me on my toes. He calls me out if I say little dumb comments, or if I'm being a wimp, he'll let me know. If I'm being negative, you wake up in the morning, you got that much energy in your tank. And if you say something negative, you're getting 5 miles to the gallon. But if you're giving compliments and you're being an outstanding citizen, that tank's going to stay full all day long. My people, or not my people, that's not what I want to say, but my friends and family that I associate with each and every day, they keep me on my toes, and we're very honest with each other, and I let them know if they've offended me, or if they're being assholes. I let them know it. Yeah. And I don't care if you're Chandler, a big tough redhead. I'm gonna tap you on the shoulder and, hey,
he's not that
cut
tough.
It out. Yeah. Not Chandler. I've never seen him say anything bad about anybody or anything like that. He's an amazing guy, but I hold myself accountable for every action I do, and I want my friends and my family to hold me accountable to those actions. And I want the people to understand that if you're my friend, or if we're doing business together, that's life. That's how it's going to be. There's not any sugar.
Yeah, you're unique, and it's inspiring, because for a guy like me, and for lots of us who are never going to ride Virgil.
Yeah, sorry.
but listen, like, the fact that you did it inspires greatness in others. So I may never sit on the horse, but I can watch you do it, and that's inspiring. I think that's part of the power of your story, and your willingness. Maybe you get this from your mom, to share that, to serve others through your example. I think that's super, super powerful. Maybe that's
Well,
your superpower.
well, thank you.
Yeah.
And to me, if I was to tell someone like my brother, he wrecked his plane, he's paralyzed from the waist down. He was more athletic, tougher than me. He was a very well-rounded athlete, and whatever we did skiing. We were pretty intense about it. If we're hunting, probably not going to get to the top of the mountain faster than me and my brother. And so now the things that he's been up against, um, and how it shaped him, and the things that he talks about, he's always uplifting. He's always motivating. There's never a bad day. Yeah, he's in pain. He'll talk about it a little bit, but depression, suicidal thoughts, all those things, we never dealt with those as a kid. And now dealing with them, and experiencing, what Shad has gone through and seeing it firsthand, it's another testament to never judge anybody, until you see the mile they walked in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very strong statement, and that's something too that I try to be more, I don't know, aware of.
Yeah.
And that's something too that when I was young and on the pedestal in the rodeo in the spotlight or whatever, I didn't understand those first 4 world titles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being more accepting, and when other people are having a hard time and I'm trying to, dude, I got on Virgil. You can get on.
Yeah.
You're going to get through anything. Like,
Yeah.
We've had bad days, but you get another chance at riding.
Yeah. Well, and you're the world champion. And I think people would have an expectation that you don't need anybody else. You've accomplished all of it. And here you are talking about your brother and learning from the way he's managing this significant challenge in his life and the way he approaches every day. So none of us are above
Exactly
the learning, if you're open to the learning.
Yeah, and I think that there's some ego that you have to put down, and being humble, being grateful for what you have. I think, I've almost lost it all. All I've had is my wife and my kids, and like still life is freaking amazing. Like it's great. I have another chance. I can make some phone calls or put in a resume, go get a job. But if I'm optimistic and I'm happy go lucky when I show up, and the first impression is, dang, this guy, he's a go getter. Like, goes a long ways.
One of your buddies said this about you. I think that you've just said it in a different way, but your attitude is he said, Kaycee's a champion 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't matter if he's on a winning streak or if he's on a losing streak. His attitude never changes. And that is so compelling, because life can be hard. And maybe people, we just make it harder, but life can be hard. And you've developed this strategy of, I'm going to win. Today I'm going to win. And that's meaningful. I think that story is meaningful for everybody to learn that lesson.
Yeah. And Matt, that's a good friend of mine. He's been around for majority of my life, and he knows me well. But, like we've talked about, the hard days, the deep valleys, those aren't the end of it. There's much more to life than just where you're at. When my dad passed away and I wasn't grieving, I went through this little period where I was worried about time, and so I started studying time in the Bible. I just started Googling time. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned, and through my religion, the Mormon Church, and understanding time, is we're here for this long of a time. We have this much life to live. So again, we have a short period of time here, just like in the rodeo world. I have a very short span of time of 8 seconds to show my ability, to show who I am. There's 86,000 people in the stand at the Reliant Stadium in Houston, in 8 seconds, I want them to see how much passion I have about riding the bucking horse, about the style that I have riding the bucking horse, that it's not just an 8-second grudge match for me. I want people to understand when I get off that if I was scored low, this is an opportunity for me to be in front of a lot of people and smile and be grateful that I even had the opportunity to be in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's and now with business and it's a different energy and my arena is different. There might not be the loud crowds and the energy and stuff, but every day, like business now, I've been in the fulfillment business now for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning a lot. I'm still getting on young bucking horses that don't know what's going on. I'm on the spur board and, but I go back to the basics and I'm asking lots of questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I'm taking notes. I haven't had a laptop in 15 years, and now I've got to learn what, how to run a warehouse. I have to understand invoicing. I have to understand inventory, the terms, WSM, API, all this stuff is like, man, is that like the size of my cinch? Is that the bar stow rig and that's a high lift? Is that good long spurs or what is this? And so
that's great.
Yeah, I'm back to the basics and it is, as some people would say, an obstacle, but this is an opportunity for something that I'm very passionate about. I want to be a winner at the fulfillment world. I want to win the gold buckle. I want to be a successful fulfillment company.
Yeah.
And so that will be the paycheck or the high five from my business partner will be the 86,000 people in the crowd. But
yeah.
It's just, it's your perception of things.
Yeah. I always say that there are lessons you learn on a competitive field that can't be taught in a classroom. You've certainly experienced that. Are there lessons that you learned from your rodeo career that you can apply to your daily business life?
For sure. Being a rodeo cowboy, you go to, anywhere from 60 to 80 rodeos. And so that's different cities majority of the time. And not winning that much money. You can have good years for sure, but you learn to get around the country very efficiently, to say the least, and still bring home money. And so, properly structuring finances is something that is very easy to translate into the business world. My resilient attitude of I'm getting bucked off. I'm having some rough days. In the business world, I think that's why, I don't know what the real number is, but 50% of your startups go bankrupt. Those people didn't have faith in themselves. They didn't have faith in, it doesn't even matter about the product. Obviously you have to be the expert and know what the product is, but if you have passion about the product, you can sell anything. If you have passion about it and you love where you're at in life, and you don't ever stop having faith. With business, it's a lot different than making money at 8 seconds at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Like net 90, that's the biggest bullshit thing I've ever heard of. But so that's been a big learning curve for me.
Sounds like a book in the making.
So, the things, the challenges that I learned in rodeo, and also the good things are, the things that I had mastered, they translate very well. And one of the things that's very, and it's taken a year to probably talk about this and understand it, but relationships. Rodeo world is very tight knit, it's close, and everybody wants everybody to do good.
Mm-hmm.
The business world is very similar. It's you got to know what you're talking about. You got to know the business, but at the same time, relationships go a really long ways, and a handshake deal and looking people in the eye and being real is goes a long ways in the rodeo world. If you don't have a good handshake and look somebody in the eye, the repercussion in rodeo is still old school. And so
should we talk about that? Like you
You-
learn this on the rodeo circuit, connecting with people, and connecting with people, I think is supremely valuable in the business world as well. Is that, did you align with that thought?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It's not what you know, it's who you, or it's not what you know, it's who you know. Rodeo is the same thing. There's a lot of benefits to knowing people around the country, and it's powerful. And you know, I never understood it until I got kicked in the head, and you know, the cobweb went away. But you know, that the relationships, connecting people, that's another thing. There's so many different ways to make money nowadays. There's so many businesses that they make money with product or a software, whatever it be. And rodeo, I don't think has that. It's you know, you're a rodeo cowboy or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how you make money. You're either one of these 7 events or, you know, that's it. And so just the relationships that I have outside of the rodeo world, and understanding that there's so many diverse people out there that make money so many different ways and you even know how, and to understand the value in that, and never saying no to anything. And just like eHub, the relationships that I have with these guys, it was business, but Chandler and Colton and I, we are really good friends. We love to go snowmobiling together. And now what I've learned from them guys over the past 2 years of a friendship is benefiting my fulfillment company, just because of the knowledge that I've got from those guys.
Yeah.
Not necessarily they're going to, you know, sign me up and I'm going to make thousands of dollars or anything like that. But the
I hope
knowledge
that occurs too.
yeah. But the knowledge that you get from your friends and associates is very, very powerful.
Yeah. Well, I'd look out for Colton. Chandler's solid. Actually, Chandler told me a funny story about going out on the snowmobile with you. He said, I know Chandler, he's pretty aggressive. He said he can't keep up. Like you jump on and go, you treat it like Virgil. Like that's just another Virgil for you. So I don't know if I want to go out on a snowmobile with you.
Oh, you'll have a blast.
No
You'll
fear.
see some good buck-offs.
Well, you mentioned 2 things. I want to make sure that we talk about both of them. So don't let me forget. I'll tell you, and then we can figure it out. One is you talked about being committed in the business world, and a thought that if you don't succeed, maybe it's a lack of faith. I want to talk about that. We'll get to that. But I first want to talk about you getting kicked in the head and loosening the cobwebs, because that's not like a metaphor. That's a real thing.
It is.
That's a real thing that happened. And would you say that event was the most significant challenge that you had to overcome in your life?
Yeah, most significant challenge, but also probably, you know, you learn the most from your mistakes. And that mistake that happened that day was very eye-opening to real life for me. So the horse Killer Bee.
Which rodeo are you at?
This is in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Yep. And so
in 2018?
2018.
Okay.
So 2018, big goals, want to win the world. There's big rodeos in the South. So I pretty much moved to Texas from the end of January to the end of March. I fly back and forth to home a lot, but majority of my time and my family's in Texas. This rodeo, nobody was there. It was the last one for the winter run or the winter season, and family went home. I ended up drawing Killer Bee, this horse. It's a world champion. I've been on her a few times in the past in an outdoor arena, and believe it or not, an outdoor and indoor arena very few horses buck different. But this Killer Bee, this horse, the world champion, who's bottle fed and tame, you can lead her around, take her up to the house on the back porch, and people pet on her, and it's wild, and she bucks, and she's the real deal, and she's smart, and she's a cheater.
Are you saying horses cheat?
For sure. For sure. The old smart ones that got the power, they figure out how to use it. Yeah. And and that day, like I was talking about earlier, the world record for the highest score,
Mm-hmm.
Austin, Texas, is a big crowd. The people, a part of the rodeo, are hyping this up to the right people. This is a big opportunity. Again, I've dreamed it hundreds of times. This is it. This is going to be it. 6 seconds in the bareback ride, and it's kind of common. It probably happened to me once or twice a year, but you hit the back of your head on the horse's hips up on the top, and
Yeah.
you see the white flash. You go numb, but it's not a direct hit to where lights go out, and so you just go through the motions. You kind of try to make it look as good as you possibly can for the judges and get to the 8 seconds. The 8 seconds went, and I was still numb. My arms are tingling.
You're aware, though. You're
aware, but you can't move, kind of thing, So
that
I'm
sounds
just kind of like
terrifying.
leaning back and just kind of like monkey in the wind, flapping. Just make the 8 seconds. You're going to win. You made a statement the first 6 seconds, like this is going to be good. Superman's me, just like on a dirt bike, feet are way up above my head, and come down, hit my rigging. That time lights went out. I cracked my nose, eye socket, crushed my nasal cavity, upper and lower jaw, hit the ground, and then the horse kicked me on top of the head right here above my ear and cracked my skull. And I still didn't think I went out. And I'm sitting there on the ground and trying to get up, trying to kind of sucking dirt in my nose, but trying to get up. Going out of the arena on the stretcher and kind of, do the old wave, coming back to, get out of the arena. I'm fine. I'm like, I don't have any pain. Yeah, I've got a headache, but I'm fine. I've been knocked out. They let me off the stretcher. I go in the sports medicine trailer, and Sean Reedy, the sports medicine guy, is like, dude, you got a big knot on your head. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel it. It's big. And he comes over and he just starts screaming, brain bleed. You got to get out of here, brain bleed. I stepped out of the sports medicine trailer and hit the ground hard and kind of started getting dizzy, and then started throwing up. And then my vision went, and the white flash, it was like that continually. I could just make an outline of a human, or, see the doorway a little bit. So they put me on the stretcher, and I'm puking and puking. So they end up strapping me to the wall in the ambulance, so I'm not drowning in my own puke. Go into the hospital. Get scanned every hour. My wife gets there the next morning, and this is when, shortly after, I started Power Pro CBD. And
it's a great story, because you had been talking about this product previously. You go through this traumatic event, and all of a sudden, you're like, wait, maybe I should give that a try. But keep with your story.
So took some Power Pro CBD. And I hadn't slept for 14 hours at all, just sitting there dry heaving and spinning. Took a couple droppers of it, went right to sleep. Woke up, perfect vision. Remember the doctor coming in and hey, we're going to take you in for a scan. Your last one looked way better. Well, if this one goes good, we're going to move you down to the next floor. You're going to be released out of ICU. I'm like, great, perfect. I want to go home. So they scanned me. They're like, this is unbelievable. There's no swelling. There's absolutely no swelling on the brain. You're great. We're going to monitor you for the next 3 or 4 days, and then you can go home. At the beginning, they wanted me there for 2 weeks, and I drove home after 4 days of being there. So I got home, and the brain injury is something I had never dealt with, but I've been to the brain research place in Las Vegas and seen kids, all sorts of hospitals all around the country, visiting kids and seeing these traumatic brain injuries. And with the troops, I've been all over the Middle East, been to 20-something different countries visiting the troops and wounded warriors and stuff like that. So I'm familiar with the repercussions of brain injuries. And so my what I've researched and the things that I found that were benefit for a brain injury is sleep and dark rooms, no screens. And so that was March 30th. I didn't come out of a dark room for much more than 5 or 10 minutes, all the way until mid-May. Walked up to the hay barn and come back and was exhausted. And I was like, okay, this ain't good. I need to sleep more. I've got to take this more serious. Started feeling really good after about 2 weeks, and I started going to a place over in Provo called Brain RX. They did some stuff they get your heart rate way up, and then you got to memorize some blocks on the wall and exercise the left and right side of your brain. Started feeling really good in June. I said, screw it. I don't care what's happening. I feel good. It's been plenty long. I'm going to start training. So I started training with a purpose, very diligently, probably the hardest I've worked out ever. Come back, won my first rodeo on the 4th of July. The 5th of July, I had a horse in Livingston, Montana that was notorious for knocking people out. That was going to be like the test of all tests.
Right.
And so he whacked me in the back of the head about 4 seconds. Ended up winning that rodeo. Had no headache, no dizziness, nothing like that. And so I entered up again. And that was a real learning curve for me. The discipline, I had never had to be. It was your career, your family, your livelihood. Take this the right way and be smart about it, or go get a 9 to 5. And so it was like my back was up against the wall, which the added pressure I really like. That's when I perform the best in the arena. And so the added pressure, I wanted to make a statement to myself of a brain injury is not going to slow you down. Nothing can slow you down. You are a world champion. This is your second opportunity to get after it, to make a statement and be a true champion.
So you kind of attacked the brain injury like you attacked your rodeo career. But I just want to make sure, it sounded like, we kind of blew through that story, but you did take you took the steps to make sure that you were progressing correctly. You weren't sitting back. You were going after it, but you made sure that you were following the proper procedure to get yourself fully healthy.
For sure. And the brain injury thing is not something that, it's not like a broke arm and, go get some stem cell shots in it and 4 weeks try riding. It's you take this very serious. And when you do come back, there is no questions if it's good or bad. You are 100% when you get on that horse. There is no second guessing a damn thing. It's here or now. You're 100%. You're perfect. The doctor said you were. Your training is evident that you are ready. Your wife, she doesn't notice any slurring of words that she's emitting.
No more than usual.
Yeah, exactly. Checked it out with my friends and my traveling partners. My travel partner who I traveled with my whole career, 13 years, called him like, hey man, I want you to tell me, we've been around some bull riders and some friends that no one fessed up and said, hey man, you're a little bit different. You're not bad, but we're noticing some things about you since your brain injury. I want you to be honest with me, Tilden, Shad. I want you to be honest with me, because to me, I'm Superman. I'm the champion. And I'm humbly saying this. I would never say that to anybody, but that's the mindset that I had to have to come back to be the very best.
Yeah.
And so checked it out. The doctors, friends, family. Now it's up to me. There's no more excuses.
Yeah. Boy, when you tell your stories, it just makes me feel like, the saying, if you believe it, you can achieve it. And you epitomize that. You have this significant belief that you can achieve. And then you go, like your mom said, you go figure out how to do it. It's such a great story and such a great lesson. And the fact that you got hit in the head 4 more times on your next rodeo didn't feel the effects. That's amazing. It's amazing what the body can do to heal, because that's a significant injury that you faced.
Yeah. And, too, that's something I wish I could translate to people more often is your body can go through a lot. There's a difference between being sore and being injured. And a lot of people, I think, they get an ouch on their toe or their finger, and it affects their leg, and it affects their hips, and then it affects their heart, and it affects their mind, and then shit, it's a bad day.
We say that about Caleb all the time. It's just a little hangnail, Caleb.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he can't perform.
But again,
staying in a dark room.
That's the same thing as, physical pain and mental pain and your thoughts and business. The more that you think about the bad, the more pain you have, the more distractions you have.
Right.
It might be distracting to have a hurt toe, but it's not going to dictate my end result, you know?
It's such a great lesson. I want to ask you about what made you a world champion. And as I think about it, I want to know if it was technique or style or training or the mindset that you talk about or confidence. Why did you achieve what you were able to achieve in the rodeo arena?
Having faith in who I am. But at a very young age, I wanted to be the best. As soon as I started maturing, you know, my teenage years, looking back on that, it might have been a little bit different than my buddies and other people, and a lot of that was my parents and life experiences. Like, my dad let me know that I was a champion at a very young age. In my first world title, we were on a horse ride, me and my dad, and I'm like, so there's an award in Las Vegas over the 10 days. I compete every night for 10 days, and all 7 events do. And so over the 10 days, they give an award called the Top Gun Award, and that's the highest money earner in all of the NFR.
Mm-hmm.
And I told my dad, hey, I'm gonna win the Top Gun Award, and that's my main goal. But everything else, if I achieve that first goal, everything else will fall into place like I want it to. He goes, I know you will. I can't wait to watch you. It's going to be awesome. You could have done it last year. And I was like, oh. And he goes, well, I'm kind of teasing, but you're going to do it this year. I know you are. And I was like, all right, my coach, my best friend, he's telling me, and he's honest. He's not like my mom, the stories, the fish, nothing like that. You know, it's
the
straight and to
like
the
this,
point. Yeah.
And the fish is like this. Yeah,
so,
that's right.
And my dad's very blunt and very honest. And I was like, okay, you know, and so it's only 8 seconds. I think it's 80% mental. And the faith that I had in believing that it was only 80% mental and the 20% was physical. And when I started believing that more and more and more, I understood what the 80% mental was. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just because I studied bucking horses and I studied bareback riding better than anybody else, but the way that my dad had taught me the way to live life and get the most out of every situation. I credit a lot of my success to you know, the peaks and the valleys and the people that I've been around and the people I've watched have success, and truly being interested in how he did it and being happy and proud of that person. When you're happy and proud of that person and you start picking their brain and they feel that you're being genuine about it, they will share secrets with you that a young arrogant kid that wins everything coming up and saying, hey, I know that, but how do you do this? They're not going to tell you all the secrets. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced that now being on the other end of it and telling these young kids or young men that are trying to be champions, you know, it's 80% mindset. The way that you live your life outside of the arena dictates that 8 seconds. So if you can't live your life outside of the arena and be completely at ease and comfort and have 100% faith in who you are and the relationships that you have, those people are in your lives for a reason at this time, that's where the 80% mental comes from. And the 20%, when you're in the gym and pushing yourself as hard as you possibly can, and you're still puking when you're damn near 40 years old, you know, that's the 20% physical, but there's also so much mindset in that 20%, because when you're pushing yourself and you're in those situations, and I'm dreaming of being the absolute best when I'm feeling the pain from the push-ups or from past surgeries or injuries, you're pushing through that pain. That's a mental toughness that you have to have. So there's the 80-20 thing. There's a lot to it. It's not just he's a smart, educated guy and he works out good in the gym. There's very deep thoughts, I guess you could say, in those situations.
Yeah. The physical is certainly a part of it. And it sounds like you're telling me that technique is meaningful, ability is meaningful, athletic talent is meaningful, but the difference, the separating factor is a mindset and a belief that you're going to achieve. You said something, and you can correct it if I'm wrong, about winning that I think is really meaningful here. You said winning isn't easy. It's never been easy. Winning is hard if you make it hard. But if you believe you're a winner, winning becomes pretty easy. What does that statement mean to you?
Don't make it harder than it really is.
Right.
Dumb it down.
But we have a way of doing that, don't we?
Oh, for sure.
Making life more complicated.
I've seen so many guys that have world champion potential, and not just in bareback riding, but they have so much outside drama that they allow come into their life.
Right.
Whether it be, kids, business, their discipline, or even just someone cutting them off and just absolutely losing it. And,
right.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like, hey, dude, I was here. Maybe blinker next time,
Yeah.
Take a little different approach at it. Just, slow down a little bit and acknowledge where you're at.
Yeah. That's so great.
But it is, you believe in yourself. God wants good for you. And if you have the right people around you, they want good for you. They like seeing you successful. So, encourage them to be a part of your winning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's, but again, I don't ever want to say, I don't want to be cocky or arrogant that winning's easy, because it's not. It's not. It's a lifetime of experiences and effort and, giving your all every single day to be a champion.
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but, just don't have distractions, especially ones that don't allow you to be a better person in society.
Yeah. Maybe you could say it's not easy, but you can give yourself a better opportunity to win every day if you're doing the right things, if you're taking the right steps and preparing to win.
Yep.
Every day.
Yep. And that too, you hit it right on the head if you're doing what's right. And so, kind of change the subject a little bit, but this hat, so me and my brother, we own a cowboy hat company called War Bonnet Cowboy Hats. And then when my dad was passing away, when people would come in and say their goodbyes to him, they would ask him, what do you want me to do, Louis? Is there anything I can do? Can I help your family? And he'd always just say, it was just the little voice that he could still have. He'd say, just do what's right. And so in all of our cowboy hats right here, it says, just do what's right. And so every time anybody puts on their hat, which a cowboy does every single day, it's a reminder just to do what's right. So that's kind of the motto behind War Bonnet Cowboy Hats and the story behind it.
That's great. I thought maybe you were giving this to me, but
you don't want this sweaty one.
But we're gonna get one
for sure.
We're gonna get one that fits. As you talk about all of this stuff and mindset and belief and confidence and doing the right things, I'm just curious. We talk about in the business world, we talk about alignment, and people who find alignment really excel. Like finding the thing that you're passionate about and you're good at, and then accelerating that because you just believe in it. That's what you want to do. I'm just curious about your career in the rodeo. Is there alignment there? Or would you have been as successful if you never stepped foot in a rodeo arena? If you had just gone to college to become an engineer? Would you, or is there something about being aligned with your purpose?
Yeah, I think there's definitely, you definitely have a purpose in life. But you have to find the passion for that. It's not like heaven, God or whoever, the Almighty, whatever guy you look up to, he didn't knock me on the head and say, hey, you're going to be a bareback rider. Like, I tried several different things before I ever tried rodeo, and my dad allowed it. My dad was a 5-time world champion. Kaycee Feild's going to be a cowboy. He's got the dad for it, kind of thing. But he allowed me to go and try everything else, and I excelled at it, and I was good at it, and found passion for a few things. But the bareback riding and the confidence I have around the livestock, that came from alignment and life and being with my dad and being around animals from a young age. But I feel like this is the mindset that I was born with, but I feel like if I went into anything else, I would have been a winner at it for sure. Maybe I wouldn't be the most winningest or the greatest or whatever, I guess I can say it's on paper, but the best bareback rider of all time. Maybe I wouldn't have been the very best, but I would have definitely been successful at it.
Yeah. So a great and famous rodeo announcer, Bob Tallman. Did he also ride rodeo?
Nope.
He never did.
Oh, he messed around with high school rodeo and stuff like that and rode bulls for a short period of time.
Mechanical?
He might still do that.
Well, he's fantastic. And he tells a great story. He has a voice and the drama he brings to it and the emotion. He just tells a great story. And we all know with great storytellers, there's a little bit of it that may be stretched out. Would that be fair to say?
I'll tell you what, Bob has so much wisdom, but yeah, he has the voice to tell stories, and there's times where his stories are, but it's the right environment for the story to be stretched.
Well, he said something about you that I don't know if I understand. I'm hoping you can shed some light on it, and maybe it's a rodeo thing. I don't know. But he said if there was one adjective, this is exactly what he said. If there was an adjective he could use to describe Kaycee Feild, it would be right. He said, Kaycee Feild is right. What does that mean?
I'm still trying to figure it out. My wife, Mother's Day, there was some things I wasn't right about. I'm real practical, so I got her a lawnmower. So maybe that day I wasn't quite right.
In all of your experience, you came home. Was it at least like a John Deere?
It was electric one, push behind. She loved it. Yeah,
she did.
Maybe not for Mother's Day, but she loved it.
Hey, honey, here's your Mother's Day kit. The lawn's looking a little shabby. Could you go take care of that? That's great.
But Bob, he's watched me from a very young age, and he's been on the front row seats of watching me compete. And now after my career, we do some things together. I'm an honorary board member for his children's hospital nonprofit, and we do a lot of good together. But what he's meaning by that is, my dad never said a bad thing about anybody. I never heard him say a curse word. He never raised his voice. I never heard him raise or yell at a kid, me, my brother, and there was definitely times that we needed to be yelled at. He had a look that was definitely intimidating, but from a very young age, it was instilled in us to be honest and to do what's right.
Yeah.
To lie does you no good, doesn't get you very far. To hurt somebody physically, mentally, whatever, that's not Christ-like. And so what I was saying about, living your life and everything outside of the arena dictates that 8-second ride. I think that's a lot what Bob is referring to is if they said my score and if I disagreed with the score, I didn't go over to the judges and hey, you were wrong. Did you miss something? This is my ride. I'm Kaycee Feild. And I don't ever remember arguing with the judges, and especially inside of the arena. So Bob had front row seats to see me at my lowest when life wasn't that easy. There was a lot of distractions, and I'd get to the rodeo and I felt like I was training harder than I ever had. I was pushing it as hard as I ever had, and still making mistakes in the arena, and Bob was witnessing what was going on outside of the arena and with my ride. And so I think a lot of that saying comes from my sportsmanship, the way that I go about competing, and then the way I live my life outside of the arena. I still make mistakes, don't get me wrong. Especially in the fulfillment world. I'm still learning a lot, but again, it's more the big picture rather than just today and now.
Yeah.
I think I think I would have to call and ask him.
Yeah. Maybe we should sometime.
It would be a good phone call. We got to definitely have some time.
You need some time to do that. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, as we wrap this up, you have such an amazing life and so many incredible experiences and lessons that you have taught and can teach people. And you're young. you still have a long way to go. I mean, so if you're looking at what you've done to this point and where you're headed, what is your philosophy? How do you live your life? You just said it. How do you live your life? How do you live a good life on a daily basis? What is your philosophy on that?
Their success, that's determined in so many different ways, but the way that I see my life and the way that I want to live it is, I'm investing in my kids right now. All my time right now, I'm investing in my kids, but I'm done rodeoing, but I'm not done winning. It's just to the next discipline. Whether right now it's life for me. It's a couple business going, and I want to win at them, but I want to win as a father. I want to win as a husband. I want to win in anything that I do. And so that is so now I don't have, I'm not writing down goals to say, hey, I'm going to go win these 20 rodeos this year and I'm going to win a world championship at the end. It's more aligned, which was more pushing me toward retirement toward the end of my years in my career is my family. And that's where my goals are and what I want to do and quality of life. And so as I picture myself years down the road, I see myself being very happy and having my family and being proud of my kids. And that's going to be a big win for me. And so, to say what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be in the next few years is a little different than how I used to do it with rodeo. But quality of life will come with success and being a good businessman. But quality of life and being there for my family and friends at all times. I need some business. I can do that right now, but with a little more success on the business side and being a little more strategic and smarter and learning to schedule more. I will have that. I'm winning right now. Love where I'm at. I'm very content with life and where I'm at. But I see myself, just hauling my kids around and watching them win.
That's
whatever
great.
It be.
You said in an interview once that you should live your life like someone's going to write a story about it. And so far, you've written an amazing story. And I feel inspired about the story you're going to continue to write outside of the arena and with your family. So congratulations on everything you've done. It's been such an honor to have you here today. I don't have the words to describe how grateful I am. And I think that whoever tunes into this podcast is going to gain so much from your story. It's unbelievable. So thank you and best of luck in everything that you do.
Well, I really
Kaycee
appreciate
Feild.
that. Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite. Pleasure being on and two, do lots of podcasts and you did your homework and this was easy. And I really enjoyed being on today.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Know Your Ship podcast presented by eHub. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.